Slavery was abolished in 1865, and it changed this country forever. However, if we look into our society today, we will see that slavery did not end in the 1800s, and it is still alive and well. Human trafficking is the reassertion of slavery in today's society, and it is the current generation's responsibility to be informed, aware, and active against this dangerous and ever-present enemy. I have been personally moved by this cause and have done everything I can to gain knowledge and spread the word. I learned a majority from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, which is a section of the UN that has done extensive research into human trafficking around the world. I also gained insight through the Fight Injustice and Global Human Trafficking Program, which is run by one of the professors here at Santa Fe. Our parents' generation and other previous generations were ones that failed and passed this serious issue down to us. Therefore, it is this generation's responsibility to bring an end to human trafficking at home and around the world. To be an avid member in the fight against this worldwide travesty, one will need to know what qualifies as sex trafficking, how human trafficking differs in each country, and how we can help on our level. The most important base for fighting against trafficking is to first have some general understanding. Before we can dive in to the dark and heartbreaking world of sex trafficking, it is important to know exactly what is required to qualify something as an act of human trafficking, which the United Nations has defined on their website. According to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, the first element required of human trafficking is an act. This is usually fulfilled by the abduction, recruitment, movement, or transfer of persons. The next characteristic that the UNDC found is a means, which is the way that someone is forced to be involved in the sex industry. This could be the promise of money, coercion, or even physical abuse. The final required aspect of an act to qualify it as human trafficking, according to the UNDC, is a purpose. This is the reason that someone is forced into the industry. This quality can be sexual exploitation, indentured servitude, or many other dark reasons. Now that we have a better understanding of what qualifies as human trafficking, let me show you the different ways this comes into play around the world. Human trafficking is alive and well in our society today. However, it is displayed in different ways in each country, which the UN did an intensive worldwide study into. According to the UN study in Southeast Asia, the most common way for a child to be brought into the sex industry is by their parents. The act is the movement of the child, the means is force or coercion at their parents' hands, and the purpose is for sexual exploitation. The fact that the parents are in control makes this form of exploitation especially dangerous because the children do not have family support. The UN study also showed that in South America and Africa, the children have their parents' support but are at a large risk for abduction as the most common means of involvement. In these countries, the government is not set up with a safe means of retrieving abducted children. Therefore, poor children from rural communities are often the first to be sought out. Lastly, the UN study found that in America, coercion is the main means of abduction among children and teenagers. They are promised money and fame, with the main outlet being the internet. Since the internet is the main source of these predators, it is often difficult for parents to protect their children without the proper education about internet safety and awareness. While all of these issues may seem far from home and like there is nothing we can do to help, there actually is. Sometimes it is difficult to make ourselves aware of what goes on in our very community, but now that you know, it is important to understand what you can do to help stop this. The most important thing that we can do as a whole is be aware. The reason that many acts of human trafficking in the U.S. go unnoticed is because we refuse to look for them. In Gainesville last year, WUFT reported that a Santa Fe College professor was arrested for being involved in a child sex ring, which shows that this can happen right where we live. The next action we can take is to act when you see something. As before mentioned, it can be difficult for parents to protect their children because they did not grow up in a society as technology-centered as our own, and therefore they are not prepared. That is where our generation comes into play, and we can be on the lookout for these predators and ensure that we report any suspicious activity or information. The final and easiest way for us to get involved in the fight is to share the knowledge. As before mentioned, the most common reason things go unnoticed is because we are not made aware. Tell friends, family, and social media about the dangers of sex trafficking, and hopefully, as a community, we can come together and combat this dangerous act. Human trafficking is alive and well in societies even as developed as ours, and therefore it is our job to fight back. Human trafficking is a dangerous and sad rebirth of slavery in the modern world, and it is our generation's responsibility to gain knowledge, remain alert, and to fight back against it. To combat this, you will need the specific tools required. You will need to know what qualifies as human trafficking. You will need to know what kinds of trafficking occur in different countries and their differences. And finally, you will need to know what you can do to act back against it. In today's ongoing fight against our society's rebirth of slavery, repression, and fear, the war has yet to finish, but the battle starts here at home with me and with you.